Okay, so ready to like totally transform how you learn English.
Yeah, let's do it.
We're going to deep dive into this super popular YouTube video. It's from Daily Native English. Have you heard of them?
Oh, yeah, they're great.
Yeah, their video, Change the Way You Learn English,
Yeah.
has like a gazillion views.
For good reason.
I know, right? It's full of these science-backed strategies that I think can really help you learn faster and more naturally.
Yeah, it's really about working smarter, not harder.
Totally. You know that feeling of like spinning your wheels using the same old methods?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
We're going to like totally ditch those today.
Yeah, bye-bye to those.
So one of the things that I thought was super interesting is how traditional methods, they can sometimes trick you into thinking you're learning, but it doesn't actually stick.
Yeah, it's like this illusion of learning. You feel like you're making progress. You're like, yeah, I'm doing this, I'm learning. But then you get to a real conversation and it's like, poof,
It's gone.
it's gone.
Yeah, like when you spend hours memorizing vocabulary lists, but then you get into an actual conversation and you're like, I know this word, but I can't remember it.
Totally. It's because those methods, they don't really force your brain to actively engage with the information.
You're not really using it.
Yeah, it's like just watching a workout video.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
You're not going to get in shape by just watching someone else work out.
That's so true.
You got to do it.
So how do we get our brains off the couch and, really get into learning shape?
Retrieval practice. That's the key.
Okay, tell me more.
So instead of just passively reviewing material, like reading and rereading your notes,
Right.
you actually test yourself. Think of it like flashcards. You see a word, you try to remember the meaning, and then you flip it over to check.
Okay, so flashcards, I get that they work, but sometimes they can feel a little bit boring.
Mm-hmm.
Are there other ways to do retrieval practice that are maybe a bit more fun, a little bit more engaging?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Okay, good.
There's so many ways to do this. Like try summarizing a video or an article you just read or listened to.
Out loud.
Yeah, out loud to yourself.
Okay.
Or if you're feeling really brave, have a conversation with yourself in English.
Talk to myself.
Yeah.
I kind of love that.
I know, right?
Okay, but what if like I stumble over words or I completely forget what I was going to say?
That's actually a good sign.
Really?
Yeah, because
Okay.
even struggling to remember, even if you don't get it perfect, it makes the memory stronger.
That's like a workout.
Exactly. It's like a muscle. The more you challenge it, the stronger it gets.
So retrieval practice, it's like that no pay, no gain approach to language.
You got it.
I like it. What's another technique that we can use to kind of supercharge our learning?
So let's talk about space practice.
Okay.
We've all crammed for a test at some point, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
The cramming, it's like trying to fill a leaky bucket. You're pouring the information in, but it's just leaking right back out.
Ugh, tell me about it.
Yeah.
I remember, like, in college, I pulled an all-nighter before a Spanish exam, and I swear I knew everything.
Yeah.
And then as soon as the test started, it was all gone.
Poof, gone. Exactly. So space practice is the opposite of cramming. Instead of one marathon study session, you spread out your learning over time.
Yeah.
So, for example, if you're learning vocabulary, instead of trying to cram, 50 new words all at once, break it down into smaller
Toddler chunks.
then review them over days and weeks.
So it's like planting a seed and giving it time to grow.
Exactly.
I like that analogy. But what about, like, speaking or listening? How does space practice work for those?
So instead of having one long conversation practice, try having a shorter, more frequent one. So maybe 15 minutes a couple of times a week.
Okay.
Instead of like an hour-long session just once a week.
Right.
Same thing with listening. Like if you're listening to a podcast, you can break it down into smaller parts and listen to them over a few days.
Got it. So it's about consistency.
Consistency is key.
Not necessarily cramming everything all at once.
Yeah, give your brain time to actually absorb the information.
Okay, this is making a lot of sense. So we've tackled the illusion of learning with retrieval practice, and we've busted the cramming myth with spaced practice. What's next on our list?
So let's talk about interleaving.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine you're building a house.
Okay.
You wouldn't just focus on laying the foundation and then do nothing else.
Right.
You'd work on different parts of the house simultaneously.
To get it all built.
Yeah, exactly. To create a complete structure.
Okay. I'm intrigued, but how does building a house relate to learning English?
So instead of just focusing on one skill at a time, like just grammar or just vocabulary interleaving, is about switching between different skills throughout your study session.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of like mixing up your workout routine. So you're working different muscle groups.
Okay. So instead of like just doing grammar exercises for an hour, I might switch between listening to a podcast, writing a summary of what I heard, and then maybe like practicing speaking about the same topic.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And that helps your brain make connections between those different skills, and it makes you more flexible as a learner.
That sounds amazing in theory, but I'm a little bit worried that it might be overwhelming.
Yeah.
I like to focus on one thing at a time, so how do I make interleaving work for me?
I think the key is to start small. Don't jump into like 5 different things at once.
Okay.
Start with 2.
Okay.
Choose 2 related activities and just alternate between those. And then as you get comfortable, you can gradually add more.
So I can kind of ease into it
Yeah, exactly.
and gradually embrace the beautiful chaos of interleaving.
Exactly.
Okay. My brain is definitely getting a workout today. So what is the final technique that we're exploring?
The last one is called elaborative interrogation.
Okay, that sounds a little intimidating.
I know the name is a mouthful,
Yeah.
but it's actually very simple. It's just about asking yourself deeper questions while you're learning.
Oh, okay.
So kind of turning your inner critic into a study buddy.
I like that.
Okay, but can you give me like a concrete example? What would this look like in an actual study session?
Okay, so let's say you're learning about the past perfect tense.
Okay.
Instead of just memorizing the rule, ask yourself, why is the past perfect being used in this sentence?
Okay, so I'm not just learning the rule, I'm understanding the why behind it.
Exactly. Yeah, and that makes it stick so much better.
I can see that. Okay.
It forces you to really connect the new information with something you already know, and that makes it more meaningful and memorable.
So it's not just information, it's knowledge.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And you can do this with any area of English learning, from grammar to vocabulary to pronunciation. It's a very versatile tool.
I'm starting to see how all of these techniques kind of work together. You know, retrieval practice, space practice interleaving, and elaborative interrogation to create a more holistic and effective approach to learning.
Yeah, they're all connected.
Yeah.
They all work together. This has been a really insightful first part of our deep dive. We've busted some learning myths, we've discovered some powerful techniques, and we've started to rewire our brains for more effective language learning. But before we get too carried away, let's take a quick break and come back for part 2, where we'll delve deeper into these strategies and share some practical tips on how to actually apply them to your English learning journey. Don't go anywhere.
We'll be right back.
Welcome back. My brain is like buzzing with all these new techniques. It's like my whole approach to learning English is being like flipped upside down,
The big shift.
but in a good way.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's get down to like the nitty-gritty. How can we actually use these techniques in our everyday lives? Like, I'm ready to ditch the old ways and embrace this new, brain-powered approach.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's start with retrieval practice.
Yeah.
Remember, it's all about actively testing yourself. So think beyond flashcards. You could write down everything you remember from a podcast episode.
Oh, okay.
Or you could try explaining a concept to like an imaginary friend. And don't worry about being perfect. It's really the effort that counts.
Right. Just the act of trying to recall the information is what helps you remember it.
Exactly.
I've noticed that when I try to explain something to someone else, even if they have no idea what I'm talking about, it helps me solidify the concepts in my own mind.
Yeah, totally. Like when you teach something, you really learn it.
Exactly.
And you can even find ways to like build retrieval practice into your daily routine without setting aside extra study time.
Ooh, I like that. Tell me more.
So let's say you're learning vocabulary. Challenge yourself to use one new word in every conversation you have that day.
So instead of just like passively reviewing words on flashcards, I'm actively trying to use them in real life situations.
Exactly. Turn your everyday life into a language lesson.
I love that. Okay, so retrieval practice. What about spaced practice? How do you feel about using a spaced repetition system?
Spaced repetition. Yeah.
I've heard about those apps like Anki, but honestly, I get a little intimidated by all the settings and algorithms. It's like I need a degree in computer science just to figure out how to use it.
Yeah, those apps can be a bit overwhelming.
Yeah.
You don't need to get super fancy. A simple notebook and pen can be just as effective.
Okay. I like that. Keep it simple.
Yeah, just write down, the words or the concepts that you're learning and then schedule review sessions for yourself. So maybe review them tomorrow, then again in a few days, and then again a week later.
So it's the consistency that's key, not necessarily the fancy technology.
Consistency is key.
Okay, I can do that.
All right.
Okay, let's talk about interleaving.
Right.
I'm still a little bit wary of, juggling multiple skills at once, but you've definitely piqued my interest. So how can I experiment with interleaving without feeling completely overwhelmed?
Start small.
Okay.
Don't try to do too much at once.
Okay.
Instead of diving headfirst into like a 5-skill extravaganza, just pair 2 related activities.
Okay, 2. I can handle 2.
So, for example, you could listen to a short English news clip.
Okay. And then write a brief summary of what you heard.
Okay, so I'm connecting listening and writing skills around a central theme.
Exactly. And that feels more manageable, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's less overwhelming. And what I like about this approach is that it feels more like how we use language in real life. We're constantly switching between different skills without even thinking about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, interleaving helps train your brain to be more flexible and adaptable,
Yeah.
just like in real life conversations.
I like it. Okay, don't be afraid to get creative with the activities you combine.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
You'd read a short story, then try to retell it in your own words or even draw a picture
Yep.
to represent the key events.
That's a great idea, especially if you're a visual learner.
I am.
That can really help make those connections. Yeah, definitely. Okay, last but not least, let's talk about elaborative interrogation. I love the idea of asking deep questions, but sometimes I get so caught up in trying to learn the rules of the vocabulary that I forget to actually think critically about what I'm learning. Any tips on how to make elaborative interrogation a more natural part of my study routine?
Think of it like you're a detective. You
Yeah.
know, you're not just memorizing clues, you're trying to piece them together to solve the mystery of the language.
Ooh, I like that I'm a language detective.
So every time you encounter a new word or a grammar rule or an expression, just ask yourself, why is it used this way?
Why?
What's the deeper meaning or the nuance?
Oh, so it's about being curious and looking for those hidden connections and that underlying logic.
Exactly, yeah. It turns learning into a more engaging and almost like a game.
Yeah, instead of just memorizing facts,
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand the why behind them.
And that makes it so much more interesting and memorable.
Okay, I'm feeling inspired. These techniques are so much more than just study hacks. They're like tools that can really transform the way we learn.
Yeah, they're powerful.
And the best part is you can apply them to any area of your life, not just language learning.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Anything you want to learn.
Whether you're learning a new language, picking up a musical instrument, or mastering a new skill at work, these techniques can help you learn faster, remember more, and actually enjoy the process. That's the key, right? Learning should be enjoyable. It shouldn't feel like a chore or a burden.
Totally. I think when you find joy in the learning process, you're more likely to stick with it and you actually see those results.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. I'm feeling really motivated and excited to put these techniques into practice and see how they transform my own English learning journey.
Me too.
What about you? Are you feeling inspired?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay, good. So before we move on to the final part of our deep dive, where we'll explore the daily native English videos, bonus tips, and insights, I want to give our listeners a moment to pause and reflect what's standing out to you the most from what we've discussed so far. What's that one technique that you're like, I'm going to try that? Take a moment to jot down your thoughts or share them with a friend. We'll be right back to continue our exploration. All right, we are back. And my brain is overflowing with all this awesome learning stuff.
Isn't it cool, right?
It's like we found the secret formula for learning English faster.
That's like a cheat code.
Okay, so before we wrap up, let's do a quick recap of all the key takeaways from that Daily Native English video.
Yeah, good idea.
And then we can sprinkle in some of their bonus tips.
I like it.
Okay, so first up, we totally busted that myth of passive learning.
Oh, yeah.
Highlighting your textbooks till they're glowing in the dark might feel productive, but it's not really doing much.
Just an illusion.
Right? We need to be more active with our learning.
You got to engage with it.
Okay, and that's where retrieval practice comes in.
Yeah, flashcards, self-testing, explaining things out loud. It's all about making your brain work a little.
Yeah, make those connections fire.
Exactly.
Okay, and then to avoid that memory meltdown after a cram session,
Oh, yeah.
spaced practice. That's our new BFF.
Space practice is the way to go.
Instead of cramming everything all at once, we space out our study sessions over time with regular reviews, and it helps that information really stick.
Like building a brick wall, one brick at a time.
I love these analogies.
Gotta have the visuals.
Okay, and then to really mix things up and help us connect different areas of English, we have interleaving.
Yeah, interleaving is fun.
So instead of just focusing on one skill at a time, we're mixing it up, adding in some listening, some reading, some writing, some speaking, all related to the same topic.
Exactly. Keep your brain guessing.
I like it.
So it's more like how we use language in real life, right? We're
Mhm.
constantly switching between these skills without even thinking about it.
Right. It makes it more natural. Okay, and then to really go deep and make those meaningful connections, we have elaborative interrogation,
Oh, yeah. The question game.
asking those why and how questions.
Yeah, it really forces you to think about the why behind the what.
Yeah, I like that it's not just about memorizing the rules, it's about understanding them.
Exactly.
Okay, so those are our 4 core techniques.
Mhm.
What are some of those bonus tips from Daily Native English that can really take our learning to the next level.
Okay, well, one thing they emphasize is that learning should be fun.
Yeah, make it enjoyable.
If you're dreading your study sessions, you're not going to stick with it.
Totally. I've definitely fallen into that trap before.
Yeah.
Feeling like learning has to be this serious, boring chore,
Oh, yeah, it doesn't.
but it doesn't have to be.
So think about what you enjoy and find ways to incorporate that into your learning.
Yeah, so if you love music, listen to English songs. If you're a movie buff, watch English movies.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Mistakes are part of the process.
Yeah, everyone makes mistakes. It's how we learn.
Okay, so embrace the mistakes, see them as opportunities to learn and grow.
Yeah, and the more you practice, the better you'll get.
Totally. All right, so we've got retrieval practice, space practice, interleaving elaborative interrogation. Plus, make it fun and don't be afraid to make mistakes.
That's a good recipe for success.
I think so. This has been such an amazing deep dive.
It has.
I feel like we've unlocked the secrets to learning English faster and more effectively.
And hopefully we've inspired you to try some of these techniques out for yourself.
So if you could make just one change to your English learning routine based on what we've talked about today, what would it be?
Yeah, think about that for a minute.
What's that one technique that you're like, yes, I'm going to do that?
Write it down. Share it with a friend, and then most importantly, actually do it.
Yeah, take action. And remember, learning should be fun. So embrace the challenges, celebrate the victories, and enjoy the journey.
We'll see you on our next deep dive.
Happy learning, everyone.